The first call about the young woman's body was just the beginning of a truly chilling story. And don't even try to tell me this wasn't meticulously planned. The killer wore a mask, for crying out loud. 25-year-old Devonte Douglas made a catastrophic error when he sauntered into a police station to ask about his impounded car. Only hours before he had launched his cold-blooded scheme, shoving his ex-girlfriend Judith into a car trunk at gunpoint. He snatched her phone, but she found another 911, "What's your emergency? Can you please trace this call? I don't know where I am." "My ex-boyfriend just murdered my girlfriend." "He did what now?" "He killed her. He actually killed her. He drove my car with me in the trunk, and he murdered her." "Where are you right now?" "I'm in Hoover, I think off of Super Norris or some other road." "I'm so afraid he's going to find me." "You said your ex shot her. Do you have any idea where he is at this moment?" "The last I knew, he was at his place because I made him get out of my vehicle. I know his address." "What's his name?" "Devonte." With green dye still staining his fingers, he had emptied his firearm, firing 8 to 10 shots into 22-year-old Adriana Crockett's vehicle, and she died right there at the scene. Her entire future was wiped out. In an instant, he had worn a red and black checkered Halloween mask, put a plastic bag over his hand, and even dyed his hair green as part of a costume, leaving behind telltale evidence on his fingertips. But his carefully constructed plan contained a single fatal mistake. Judith survived. And when Devonte strolled into the Youngstown Police Department, inquiring about his towed car, he was completely unaware that an alert for his arrest was already active. Now you're about to see Detective Mackey systematically tear apart every single one of his lies. He catches him in one contradiction after the next and exposes the violent, jealous rage that motivated this mass killer to commit murder. Okay, all right, I'm going to have to read you your rights now. It's standard procedure. Anytime we have to talk with you, we're required to read you your rights. Yes. All right then, before I can ask you any questions, you need to understand the rights that are guaranteed to you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You possess the right to speak with a lawyer for advice before we ask any questions, and you have the right to have an attorney with you during the questioning. If you are unable to afford one, one will be appointed for you. You understand? I can't afford one. Yeah. Okay, well, all I'm going to need from you at this point is to initial these forms. It just signifies that I read them to you, okay? And if there are any questions about them, it just means I've done my part. All right, and you should feel free to review them again yourself. I'm just making absolutely sure. No, this is just to document that I followed procedure. Okay, and now I have to read this to you. All right, this is about if you are willing to speak with us, okay? It states that you've read or have had read to you. I'm reading it to you right now. The statement of your rights is listed above, and you fully understand these rights. You also know that you are not obligated to make a statement, and that you can stop talking at any point you wish, correct? So if you start talking with us, and then you decide you don't want to talk anymore, that's it. No. Okay, do you want to talk with us? Yes? Okay, I just really need to figure out what's going on. Fine, but like I already stated, you can end this conversation whenever you feel like it. Understood. Anytime, just sign for me right here. And signing that indicates you are waiving your rights at this time, but they don't go away because all you need to do is say, "Mackie, I don't want to talk anymore." And got it. DCC. Why are you down here about a vehicle today? It's my car. I was basically just really upset with my ex after we had a massive argument. I couldn't get any sleep, so I just went out at about 5 or 6 in the morning. I had to make a run after I bought some alcohol, so I pulled over at the nearest place I saw, which was the first abandoned house because I didn't want to get in trouble for drinking and driving. So I got out of my car and just started to walk around. After that, I learned my friend was missing, so I began searching for her, and sometime while I was looking for her, my car got towed. So I came down here to ask what happened and where my car is so I can get it back. Which friend was missing? I'm Judith Britton. Judith? Yes. What was that last name again? Britton, it's Britton. I used to know some people named Britton who lived in Youngstown. Well, her dad actually changed his name, I think. When did he do that? I believe it was after he moved away from his family that he changed his last name to Burton. One moment she was on her way, and the next she had simply vanished without a single trace. Right, I was phoning her repeatedly because she was supposed to get her son, and I needed to confirm she'd picked him up. My calls just kept ringing with no response until a man's voice suddenly answered, asking, "Wait, who is this?" I shot back, "Who are you?" And after a tense argument, he just flatly stated he had her leaving me scrambling to figure out what was happening. I begged him to let her go, pleaded with him not to harm her, and his only response was a chilling command, "Don't tell anybody." So I started searching, desperately driving around the vicinity, but I honestly had no clue where I should even begin to look. Then the next thing I knew, after a frantic hour or two of looking everywhere for her, she just materialized in her car. I immediately asked what on earth happened, but she completely refused to talk to me. She drove straight over to my place, went right inside, grabbed my son, and then just left without a word. She wouldn't explain anything about the terrifying situation that had just occurred, and I was just sick with worry about her. So to be clear, when you called her number, you are saying that someone else answered her phone. Yes, exactly, and I don't know who the man was. It sounded like a gentleman, but I can't really describe his voice. My main focus was on her making sure I didn't say anything that would anger him and cause him to do something to her. But why on earth would he have her in the first place? She is the only person who knows more about this than I do. And she refused to even speak to me, while he clearly wasn't interested in talking either. So she just reappears without warning after going completely missing. I didn't want to call the authorities in case it was nothing to be concerned about, since you should wait at least 24 hours. Right now, what time was it that she was meant to pick up your son? At 7:30, but I was passed out in my car, 7:30 in the morning, yes. I was asleep in my vehicle and didn't message her back until probably around 8:30. 30-ish to come and get him, and then I texted her again asking, hey, did you ever pick him up? I'm trying to sober up, and I will be on my way. I just blew up her phone with calls, but they weren't even connecting at first. Once a call finally went through, that strange man answered, and after that it was only text messages, which made me extremely worried. He said he was going to set her free, so I asked, where is he? But he just said it was near where she was, and I had no idea where that was. Okay, I have just never seen a situation so bizarre without some kind of strange feeling to it. But I just have to ask now, is your hair green? I did it just before Christmas. I was aiming for either a Grinch look or just a simple black and green outfit. You'll do anything to make the children laugh. Am I right? A grown man actually gave me a shock walking over here. He said, nice hair, which is funny because he's the first person to say that in the week I've had it. He really said that right to my face, all right? So at 7:30, you were supposed to be the one to go over and get your son. No, she was supposed to pick him up from you. Yes, that's correct. I was completely passed out in my car because I was incredibly drunk. I see. And when you finally made contact with her, you told her, hey, I'm sorry, I am way too drunk right now. She also knows my other child's mother was at my place, and she got extremely angry about that. I pleaded with her, can we please just wait until I sober up because I don't want to start an argument. And then I said, just please wait until I'm sober. I told her I would be there later to explain everything if she was willing to talk. And after that is when I called her and she didn't pick up because she told me she had blocked my number on her phone, so we use Messenger now because we fought so much. You used Facebook Messenger to talk, yes. And you made the call from your own phone, correct? Yes. From the very instant Devonte Douglas sat down, it was obvious that he had a narrative prepared with every detail delivered seamlessly. The timing of events, the excuse for being intoxicated, the unknown kidnapper, and even the convenient car tow that delivered him to the station. This is a very common psychological defense tactic for suspects who are facing serious charges as they flood the investigators with a pre-built story. They try to seize control of the conversation, steering it far from the truth and towards a version of events they can comfortably defend. The more self-assured their delivery is, the more believable they hope the entire fabrication sounds. But a seasoned detective can identify a rehearsed story from a mile away, so Detective Mackey is about to alter his strategy. Instead of directly challenging the tale, he knew he had to gently pull Devonte much closer to reality. Let's talk about Adriana. Adriana, who I know about 3 of them. Which one are you referring to? 3 of them, really. Name the 3, you know. Okay, there's my kid's mom, and then there's Adriana, who's my kid's godmother. And I also used to be involved with another one quite some time ago. But Adriana, the mother of my children, she's currently at my house. The other one, and I actually cut ties just last night. As for the 3rd one, I haven't spoken with her in something like 2 or 3 years. Okay. So Adriana is the mother of your baby. Is that what you are confirming for me? Oh, you mean Adriana Zucker? That's her full name. Yes, that's the one. She is indeed my child's mother. Okay, I understand. How do you have this information? And just so we're clear, a woman named Judith Britton is the mother of my 4th child. I see, okay. She's the one that was supposed to be picked up with all her things today. Correct. I've had a couple of marriages, so I can see why you'd need me to clarify everything in my own head. The main difference between us is that I haven't tied the knot yet, right? And maybe that hasn't exactly been a negative thing for you. Okay, so I get down here and boom, police officers are basically swarming me. As I mentioned before, my immediate reaction was to freeze completely and not make any move that could be seen as resisting. Fine, all right, but listen to me carefully. Are you absolutely certain there is nothing else you did today? No, sir, I did not, because why would you even suspect that we're here? Why else would there be 3 detectives on this? We have one from the sheriff's department, one from Hubert, and one from Weathersfield. That is the exact question I want answered. Well, the situation is that we have a deceased young woman. No, absolutely. Not, what do you mean by that? Don't you dare tell me what I think you're about to say. It isn't your baby's mother. Please do not tell me that my kid's godmother is dead. I have no information about who your kid's godmother is. She was known by the name Ita, but I just called her Dree. What is her last name? Crockett. That has to be her. I can't think of anyone else. Please don't tell me she's gone. Why on earth would she be dead? You told me a young lady was deceased, and you brought up the name Adriana. I'm not slow. I can connect the dots. I'm not a stupid person. I'm not implying that you are, so don't suggest that I am. That's impossible. We literally just had a fight, and I was planning to go over tomorrow to make things right. What was the argument about? We've been arguing about my ex for the most part. My ex was going to contact her about getting together, you see. That was the subject of our last disagreement because they had just begun dating. Okay, and on top of it all, my own kids were getting angry with me. It turned into a massive fight, but I was going to smooth things over with her, you understand. Please just tell me she isn't dead. You look nice. I don't have it on me at the moment. I left with my sister because she warned me some problems were brewing over there. So I told her, hey, there's some serious domestic stuff going down. What make of gun is it? I don't know its exact name, but it's a G something or other. It's remarkable how Detective Mackey refuses to engage with Devonte's sudden emotional performance. He gives the act absolutely no oxygen to breathe. He avoids confirming whether it's even the Adriana that Devonte's thinking about. He doesn't offer a shred of sympathy and maintains a completely neutral reaction. He instead executes an immediate pivot, shifting the conversation to an entirely different subject by asking about Devonte's gun. This maneuver is a classic and intentional interrogation strategy. When suspects suddenly launch into what seems like a prepared emotional act, veteran detectives will often just ignore it. The aim isn't to provide comfort, it's to carefully observe how long the act is maintained, how convincing it seems, and to see what occurs when it isn't validated. And this is precisely where Devonte gives himself away. Just watch how fast he can switch off the emotions and return to a regular conversation. In one instant, he's sobbing about his kid's godmother being dead. In the next, he's casually chatting about his firearm as if they were discussing the weather forecast. There is no sign of lingering sadness, no effort to compose himself, just an immediate shift from high drama to a calm baseline. I can tell you this much, I'm not sure of the exact specifications since, as I said, I bought it just for protection at home. I get it, everybody does that, man. Especially when you live in Youngstown, I completely understand. I hear you. So, what kind of gun are we talking about? Something big, something small. It's a semi-automatic, you get what I'm saying. It doesn't have one of those cylinders on it. It's definitely not a revolver, right? And like I said, I'm not a fan of those things, but you're dodging my question now. Please tell me what caliber is the weapon you own. Honestly, I couldn't tell you for certain, 100%. Like I said, the only time it ever gets used is when I'm at the shooting range with my buddy. Okay, but here's the thing. The magazine we discovered inside your vehicle is a match for that specific gun. Right, okay, a little bit. Then when was the most recent time you discharged a firearm? The last occasion I shot it was with my friend. You know, we had gone over to the gun range to practice, I believe it was about a week or maybe 2 weeks back. A week or two ago, you say, I would honestly need to call him to get the exact date for you. He's been hard to reach ever since he got his new kidney transplant. And what's his name exactly? His name is Robert Berry, but he's currently in the hospital and completely out of it at the moment. Is there a problem with it? It's actually the second one he's received, and this one is rejecting too. So you're saying the last time you shot a gun was 2 weeks ago. Is that right? Yes. All right, and that was at the shooting range you mentioned. Yes, you were just shooting at paper targets, correct? Look, I can see you're reluctant to discuss this, but is her name Adriana Wilcox? No, it's not Wilcox. My mistake on that one. Her name is Adriana Crockett. Crockett, yeah. That other name. You said just threw me off for a second. My apologies, I misspoke and got myself all mixed up. It's just been one of those days, you know, I just felt the need to correct it. I wouldn't want her name to be wrong. You felt the need to correct it, huh? Listen, she and I fought all the time, but we always managed to patch things up and become friends again. And where did this last argument take place? The most recent one happened over the phone, didn't it? So you haven't laid eyes on her at all today, have you? The very last time I saw her in person was at Judith's house while I was getting my son. Our fight happened later on the phone. After that, I blocked her number. She cut off communication and had Judith tell my son to call me this morning about getting him tomorrow. I just don't know how I could possibly explain it to my kids if she's really gone, you know? What are you talking about, gone? What do you mean by that? Because you mentioned a deceased woman and then immediately brought up Adriana's name. Well, one of the Adrianas I know is definitely still alive. I have no idea about the other one, so I can't imagine why my name would even come up. Whoa, hold on a minute. The other Adriana is someone I haven't seen in forever. So I have no clue why her name would be mentioned at all. There's only one Adriana that I'm even associated with. Look, we're still trying to piece together exactly what transpired here, okay? What we do know is that you had a connection with her, or perhaps your ex-girlfriend did. This is just because we've already spoken with her, that's all. It's just impossible that she could be gone. My only hope is that she's perfectly fine and resting safely at her home right now. Yeah, and that this is all just about some other person who happens to have the same name that I've never even met. Well, we've already had a conversation with your ex-girlfriend. She's currently down at the station as we speak. No, what on earth would make you think she'd be there? I have no idea. I made an attempt to discuss this whole thing with her earlier, but she refused to speak with me. So well, Let me lay out a couple of hard facts for you, all right? So you understand the reality of the situation. That phone of yours, we're going to be able to pinpoint exactly where you were today, because your phone is going to tell us everything. That's the unfortunate part about modern cell phones, isn't it? It's going to track you regardless of what you do. You could have tossed it in a fire and it wouldn't matter. It makes no difference. None at all. Those phone records are generated automatically, and you have zero control over the fact they will show us your every move today. The reason I'm explaining this to you is because if there's anything you want to amend in your story, now is the time you need to do it, because I'm telling you the only phone I ever use is the one with the 2-something number. That is the single device I've been using, and it is the only one that has been in my possession. All right, well, like I mentioned before, I'm not here to deceive anyone. I simply tell people the situation as it stands, that's all. I'm not accusing you, but what about the gunshot residue test we just performed? It wouldn't make a bit of difference if you scoured your hands with a brick you discharged a firearm. And that is precisely why I told you about firing it recently, about 2 weeks ago. That's also why I mentioned the only other instance, which was when I was at my sister's place. I told her I just needed to blow off some steam. All right, let's move on. We're about to have a chat with your sister. What strikes me as strange is that you aren't even questioning why I'm so worried about you firing a weapon. You actually believe I murdered her? You think I did it? No. What for? How could I possibly gain from something like that? I have no idea. People take lives all the time for absolutely no gain at all. Most killings happen in a fit of rage. Even Judy could tell you that I'm the kind of person who is always looking for an angle to profit from something. That's the exact reason she'd get so furious with me, because I'm always looking for a way to get ahead in every situation. What advantage would there be for me to get her out of the picture? My children would lose another person who looks after them. They just recently lost their grandfather. And now you're suggesting I would just eliminate their godmother? Well, I don't know. You understand. I'm simply asking you some questions. I am not in here shouting and raising my voice at you. I am a stranger to you, and you are a stranger to me. I get that. Perhaps you're just struggling to remember everything that happened earlier today. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I understand, brother. Thank you, but I have to say that you've really backed yourself into a wall here. And as that direct person, I am the only thing that could possibly help you is giving me some explanations. Show some remorse. Anything. That's the only card you have left to play right now. How am I supposed to feel remorse for something I never did? Did I mention we've spoken with Judith? Yes. Where was Judith earlier today? Like I said before, the last I saw her was when I went searching for her and she was driving away. Then you inform me she's at your police department. She is. So I'm not comprehending. Does it sound right that she would be at our police station? No, that doesn't seem right at all. Which is why I'm asking these questions to understand where we found her. That is where she was located. Now, where is Mirror at? We discovered her at this little oil well location. That's where we found her. That is exactly where we found her. It was a little secluded, just off the main road, a dirt path. Someone had placed her inside the trunk of a vehicle. And if you claim she returned there, there is only one reason why on earth would she be there. If once again there's no reason for her to be in that spot, first off, claiming she went back there implies she was there at least once before. And that was the mistake Detective Mackey had just snared Devonte in yet another crucial falsehood. In Devonte's original story, he claimed he found Judith on Atkinson Street after the alleged kidnapping and left her near her home. There was no mention of that isolated dirt road where the killing occurred. But now, right at this moment, Devonte let slip a detail he was never supposed to know. By stating she went back there, he confirmed Judith had visited that place before, which means he knew she was at the murder scene before he released her. And there's only a single way he could possess that information because he was the one who took her there. Detective Mackey caught this instantly. The error was minor, but its implications were massive. Devonte just put himself on site with Judith before the crime was committed, which completely shatters his entire story. This was the opening the detectives were waiting for. And now was the moment to apply more pressure. So what took place after that? I was hoping you were going to be the one to tell me that. I'm counting on you being the type of man who recognizes when things have gone wrong, and for your kids' sake and everyone else's, that you will clear this up before we have to. Because once we do, it's finished. It is completely finished. Unlike if you were sitting here and giving us the reasons why, explaining what really occurred, who was responsible, and what everyone's role was. Otherwise, for us, it simply boils down to the gunshot residue on your hands and your phone's location data, plus the messages you sent and the car's evidence with your DNA. And not just in the driver's seat either. Now, what will all of that information tell us? That's it, case closed, we're done here. I wouldn't even need to come in here and speak with you again. I feel like I'm talking. I see your point, but the only other spot my DNA could be is on her passenger seat. Where else could it possibly be? I might have kicked a dog or harmed a cat, maybe even been too strict with my kids, but to kill someone, well, it could be that you didn't intend to kill. People discharge firearms without any intention of taking a life. You know what that means. When I get that angry, I can't even guarantee my own children are safe with me. Perhaps your only intention was to frighten her. I honestly don't know for sure, and you don't recall any of it. You have no memory of yelling at her, "Sir, I swear on my life, I don't remember." I genuinely still love her, and I can't comprehend why I would ever do something like that to her. Well, you are the only person who would have that answer, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but I'm just as lost as to why, except for that ongoing relationship. You had been drinking, you were armed, and you forced Judas into the trunk of the car. Does that jog your memory at all? Because I am well aware she despises confined spaces. And you are right about that. Judas hates tight spaces, so you undoubtedly scared her half to death. But the one decent thing you did was let her go, which demonstrates you're not just some complete monster. Something must have triggered you. Why can't I remember what happened? How did I become so enraged while I was intoxicated? I've been drunk before and used it to cope with my problems. That's the whole point of why I do it. I've never been so drunk that I ended up killing somebody, but unfortunately it really seems like you did this time. You tell me precisely what you want me to relay to this family, and I'll deliver the message word for word. What could I possibly say to them? I have no idea. There are no words you can offer a family when you've taken their child, and as a father of 4, I know this better than anyone. I understand there's nothing I can do. I can't say sorry, and I can't offer an apology. I couldn't possibly look them in the eye, but try to put yourself in their position. It would mean something to you if the person responsible actually regretted their actions. It would mean something, and at this moment in the interrogation, Devonte has just given the detectives an opening. He proposed that the alcohol induced a blackout, that he might have done something he simply couldn't recall. But Detective Mackey senses there's much more to this than a simple drunken blackout. A man who blacks out doesn't carefully pick a mask to hide his face. He doesn't cover his hand with a plastic bag to avoid leaving gunshot residue. And he certainly doesn't use his ex's phone to lure a victim to a secluded area. This wasn't a crime of chaos, this was a crime of calculation. And that is precisely why Mackey is about to increase the pressure, not for a confession of what might have been, but for the truth of what really occurred on that dirt road. Well, Devonte, there is more you can tell us. What more could I possibly say? The more you can say is what transpired, what was the cause. All I can recall is the argument. It all started when we went bowling, okay? And that happened today. That was yesterday. Yesterday, all right, we had a bowling night, and I wanted that again. She expressed a desire to just be my friend, all right? I genuinely tried with all my heart to make it work, but that simply wasn't her. To be her friend and attempt a fresh start, you know? We started bowling, and she began talking. I questioned her because she let something slip. I asked her, "Are you seeing her?" And she replied that she dislikes lying, so she just evaded the question. I lost my mind. I kept my composure so nobody would know and told her exactly how she'd be treated, just like how the other Adriana treated my own kids. Those two were an item, and she did her so wrong. And I just didn't want her to be treated badly, okay? So we talked about that for several hours, and anytime we were bowling with our son, we would pause the discussion because of him, right? So we just continued that conversation. Then she mentioned she is going to her place to speak with her after we part ways because I discovered that a friend of mine's nephew has a relative there. I tried to be supportive, but she pushed me away, and that just fueled my anger more because I was trying to be a good friend. I had just gotten her back in my life, and I was making an effort to be a supportive friend. Then Jody and I started bickering again on the drive home. I dropped her off, and I believe I also dropped her off with my son the initial time. Okay, so she was speaking with Dre for about an hour, and then she sent me a message. I don't recall what it said, but I know it was something that made me absolutely furious, okay? Then Dre texted me basically demanding I stop messaging his girlfriend if it wasn't about Devonte. And I essentially struggled with everything I had not to lose my temper because my children were in the vehicle. I got home, called her, and tried to explain that her son was finally back safe with me. She didn't pick up, and the fury just started boiling inside me because it felt like she was choosing some woman over our child. You have to understand, I was trying to tell you our son was okay, and you just ignored my calls, so I started hitting the liquor I had in the house. I walked to my car, got rid of the trash, and left the house again around 5 or 6 in the morning, just drinking even more, and I knew I was going to get into real trouble if I stayed behind the wheel. So I pulled over at the first place I saw, and after that, everything goes completely blank. Until I remember this, waking up and realizing my car was gone while I was scrolling through messages on my phone. I honestly believed it was the other man's touch I was feeling, but now, I think it was probably just me all alone. Let me tell you what makes me suspect. You recall a great deal more than you're letting on, okay? For one thing, you attempted to conceal your identity with a mask. But that specific mask with that hair was the exact same one you wore for Halloween, wasn't it? Yeah, the one you used to go trick-or-treating in last year, right? Look, the only mask I own is some messed up clown mask that's too small for my head anyway. Well, this one apparently didn't fit you too well either because Judas knew it was you from the start. She'd seen it before with the green hair and the matching green fingernails, right? Just like I explained, putting a plastic bag over your hand, thinking it will prevent evidence from being left behind is a complete fantasy. Because it absolutely will not. It simply doesn't work that way, and that shows forethought. I had no time to think about any of this, but you certainly did, and whether you had a lot of time or not, you made a plan. You absolutely made a plan. You took Judah's phone and used it to lure her to the spot where you were waiting for her. And the moment she drove down that street, look at me, the moment she appeared, you unloaded the entire clip. It's a miracle from God that you didn't end up killing Jesus too. But I'm not sure if that was mercy or if you just ran out of ammunition, because these facts prove you thought this through. They're going to demonstrate your intent. That's the reason I gave you this chance to explain the real reason behind your actions, because I have fantasized about countless scenarios myself. But I have never once acted on them, and you acted on this one. Have a nice day. You're actually smiling, you sicko. This is why I wanted you to tell me what happened before I laid it all out for you, because I still want to believe that people feel remorse after they do something terrible. And while it might not make a difference in court, it's healing for your soul and your mind, and it helps you process everything. When you bury all of that deep down inside you, you just get worse and worse, my friend. You are, but I believe there's just too much evidence pointing to forethought regardless of whether I was blacked out or not. It just demonstrates an incredible amount of planning, even though I've never followed through on these thoughts before. Sure, I think of 50 different ways a day to get even with people, but don't we all do that, man? But what drove me to actually do it this time, what was it that made you do it? Because she was leaving you for your girlfriend. She was picking her over you and you couldn't handle it, and I'm sure the alcohol played a massive role in all of this. This wasn't the first incident though, but perhaps you were determined to make it the very last time, right? She told me to my face on multiple occasions that she wanted to be with other men. I was furious with her, and well, the only thing I can conclude is that one day, you finally reached your breaking point. So it must have been when I started drinking that day. I really should have just gone home with you. You probably should have. So I'm going to offer you this one last chance to present a different version of yourself. Something other than a masked man who ambushes and shoots a girl in her car. Yes, I did it. Just like you said, I finally had enough. And after 90 minutes of questioning, Devonte Douglas confessed. Devonte Douglas received a sentence of 26 years to life in prison for the murder of 22-year-old Adriana Crockett. His entire motive was pure, unadulterated jealousy, as he could not stand that his ex-girlfriend Judith had started a new life and chosen Adriana. What makes this crime so disturbing isn't just the cold-blooded premeditation, it's the fact that Devonte strolled into the police station asking about his impounded car. He was totally oblivious to the reality that detectives already had him on camera committing the act. They had the gunshot residue all over him, not to mention a surviving witness who heard each and every shot from inside the trunk. The murder weapon was recovered exactly where he said he threw it, while his phone records put him at the scene of the crime. His entire blackout alibi was completely destroyed by evidence that showed careful planning at every turn. If watching that interrogation unfold had you on the edge of your seat, then you've absolutely come to the right place. We dissect the most intense police interviews, breaking down the psychological warfare, the tactical moves, and the exact moments when a story completely unravels. Subscribe now so you never miss a case, because reality is always far stranger than anything you could invent. Hit that subscribe button now and we'll see you in the next interrogation room. A life is not a possession, and love is never a cage. The tragic story of Adriana Crockett serves as a haunting reminder that unchecked jealousy is a poison that doesn't just destroy the victim, it hollows out the soul of the perpetrator. When we allow rage to pilot our actions, we don't just commit a crime, we wage war on our own humanity. Behind every true crime headline is a family shattered and a future stolen. Adriana was only 22, her entire existence reduced to a case file because someone else chose a mask over a face and a firearm over a conversation. This wasn't a moment of madness, it was a calculated choice to extinguish a light that didn't belong to him. Justice may be inevitable in our modern world of digital footprints and forensic truth, but justice cannot breathe life back into the silenced. Let this be a call to look inward. True strength is not found in control, it is found in the courage to walk away and the wisdom to seek help before a breaking point becomes a point of no return. We must teach that respect is the bedrock of every bond. Choose empathy over ego before the mask of rage becomes the only identity you have left.